So for today's meditation technique, I'll scoot back so you can kind of see my hands in front of me here. I would like to offer, once again, kind of a mudra, which is just a gesture for our hands or a yoga pose for our hands to kind of anchor an idea or thought in space for us to kind of come back to relieve those distractions that might bubble up, which is perfectly natural and normal when we try to meditate. So one of my favorite spring mudras, if you will, is called Padma mudra, and it looks kind of like a flower, but we'll get there with a couple of steps. So if you'd like to make this with me, here's what it looks like. You can just bring both hands out in front of you, palms up, and then kind of softly clap them together so your palms connect in center. Your elbows can come out kind of wide. And from here, I like to just notice the temperature of my hands, kind of all the textures that come in through all those different nerve endings in the pads of my fingers and palms of my hands. There's a lot going on there. My cat's going to do his usual groom for this class. I think it's kind of funny that he chooses now to do that. Anyhow, from here, maybe take a moment to sort of salute yourself, maybe check in, think a couple of tall thoughts. If you'd like to be a little more active, you can scoot forward in your seat so that your strong back muscles are supporting you as you sit up tall. Or if you need a little extra support, you can scoot back in your seat and let any chair backing that you may have available to you just sort of support you. So from here, just relax your fingers and sort of make a little air pocket. So the palms of your hands come apart, but your fingertips are still connected. This is where I notice the temperature changes just a little bit. I can feel that kind of cool airflow between my palms, and I'm a little more aware of my fingertips because they're the more concentrated points of connection. And then also sort of the heels of your hands are still connected there. Now, I forget what this mudra is called, but I like to think of it as a seed mudra. It kind of represents that in some of its symbolism. Sort of the space between your hands can represent like a little seed that's planted underground that's taking in all the spring rain that may be happening right now and sort of swelling and swelling and swelling. So from here, press a little more firmly, still gently, but firmly into your pinky finger pads and your thumb finger pads, and also the heels of your hands. Really pay attention to those connections there. And sort of peel apart the other three pairs of fingers. So your pointer finger, your middle finger, and your ring finger, they all come apart. And so you have this kind of like bowl shape that you're making with your hands, or sort of like a bloomed flower. And this is Padma mudra, and it is associated with sort of reflection and growth. So I like to incorporate these two mudras together, sort of as a visualization exercise. I know a lot of people struggle to create images in their minds. And so I find this helpful to just sort of imagine a seed sprouting into a flower and then sort of pair my breath with that, sort of inhaling, letting my little seeds swell up, and exhaling as I peel open those finger pads in the middle and keep those connection points, creating that sort of bowl, sort of sending things out. And we're going to do a little shoulder movement here in a moment. So one more thing we can do with this mudra when we practice later is sort of add a little extra rise and fall to it. And I like to do kind of snow angel arms there for the extra scapular rotation that happens on your back body. So this is sort of what that will look like when we practice together at the end of class. So we'll bring our hands together in center, inhale, let that little seed swell up. And exhale, send it up, maybe drawing your elbows together a bit, letting your flower bloom. And then I like to think about bees and wiggle my fingers as I send my hands apart from each other, sort of out to other flowers, coming back to complete the cycle. So do with that what you will. You can use any part of that later when we get to it, or all of it, or none of it, whatever works for you today. But there's my little springtime meditation vibes for Padma mudra introduction. If you're seated, take a moment to just make yourself extra comfy. Maybe as before, decide if you'd like to sort of scoot forward and sit tall and feel the strength of your core, letting you be tall, sitting in your seat. Or if you'd like that extra support, where you can sit back, scooch back in your seat and use any support behind you that's available. And from here, just take a normal breath, just let it come, let it go. No need to try to change it or draw it out. Just notice its texture and length. And I'll invite you to join me if you'd like in bringing your hands together, kind of palms touching in front of you. Prayer hands, as it's sometimes called, or salutation pose with your hands. Now complete whatever breath cycle you're on. Exhaling all the way, no need to rush. Press all that air, extra air, stale air out, maybe using a little core strength to do so. And as you inhale long and slow, let your hands be soft. Let your palms open up and create a little space between them as your fingertips are still connected and softly taking in texture and temperature from one another. As you begin to exhale, open up those 3 center fingers on each side and send your Padma mudra flower up towards the sky if that feels good for you. As you press all that air out, you can wiggle your fingers as you bring your arms out and down and back towards center at a pace that works for you. So inhale, soften your hands, make space for that little seed to grow, kind of like a meditation practice. And as you exhale, open your flower up, send your fingertips skyward, and open up. Fingers might wiggle, they might just reach out long. And bring hands back to center. Notice your feet. If they're not on the floor, maybe place both footprints firmly on the floor and see if that adds an extra sense of support while you sit here. And just continue moving, if movement feels good, at whatever pace is bringing a sense of calm to your breath. Or you can just pick one of these gestures and just be still with it for any number of breaths, if that's your preference. Just bring your attention back to the breath as many times as you need to. Lots of thoughts might come up, like, what is that cat doing in the corner of the screen? Or I don't know how I feel about making flower blooming gestures. Or do I look weird while I'm doing this? That's okay. Those things are all okay. No need to judge it. If it doesn't feel good, don't do it. My number 1 tip for a meditation practice is make it something that you enjoy. Make it yours. Make it something that you like to return to. I used to sit and meditate and work really hard at not thinking. And of course, kind of like when somebody tells you, don't think about an elephant, the first thing you think about is an elephant. So for me too, sitting and thinking, I shouldn't be thinking, just led to a lot of thoughts about thinking, about not thinking. So I didn't really enjoy my experience when I would sort of sit still and just feel like I was doing it wrong and have lots of judgments about what my meditation practice should or shouldn't look like. So just know that that's super normal. And if something is really giving you resistance, making it hard to sit here or hard to enjoy it, then put that down. There's no need to do it. You don't have to make your way like my way. You can make it yours. Let's do just 3 more full breaths together. Again, still going at your pace. Whatever combination of pose or movement or lack thereof that works for you. Maybe inhaling to reach up, exhaling to find center. Inhale, maybe fill up more than before. Let's find a soft transition to the exhale. Last big breath. Make it full, make it juicy. And then let it go. Push it all out. Maybe let your hands rest in your lap if they weren't before. Maybe shake your hands out a little bit. Sometimes there's kind of some tension after being at a computer typing or just holding a new gesture with your hands. It can just sort of feel good to wiggle that out afterward. But that is what I had in store for us today. Thank you so much for being here.